is going to blow your mind. Yes, today we are talking about machine and human being. We are going to talk about emotional intelligence, machine intelligence, artificial intelligence with the human intelligence. And I'm sure you all must be curious to know what exactly all this, and you must be knowing a bit, but our guest speaker today is going to enlighten us on this subject. But before I invite her to have a conversation with you, may I request you all to please write in the chat box that whether you are ready or not. So write, yes, I am ready, and yes, I am ready to have a conversation with our guest speaker. Then I will invite her, and before that, I'll also show one video. So please write in the chat box that yes, we are ready. And
we heard the warnings.
I try to convince people to slow down AI. I tried for years.
But we didn't listen.
Development of artificial intelligence.
Be able to survive? And is this the end of the world? This is What If, and here's what would happen if we created a superintelligence. The days with AI like Siri and Alexa that made our lives better are now over. We no longer control AI. In fact, if it wants to, it can control us. With a superintelligence being created, there's no telling what it would do. One thing we do know is that this AI would be far smarter than any human being. It would quickly create new technologies that humans today could never even dream of. But wait, how exactly did we get here? The very first digital computer was invented in 1937 as a way to help humanity. And for the most part, computers and AI have given us a lot of good. In addition to giving us smartphones, the internet, and video game consoles, it also allowed us to explore the galaxy, make new medicines, and even robots. Human intelligence led to the birth of technology. But as we continue to improve artificial intelligence, AI may become smart enough to start running itself. Technology will become so advanced that it won't need humans to operate it anymore, becoming uncontrollable. As AI becomes free to do whatever it pleases, it will continue to improve on itself, becoming more advanced with every passing second. This is known as a technological singularity. This technological singularity may allow AI to do almost anything, even physically, such as robots taking over our manufacturing machines. When that happens, they can create their own machines. And let's be honest, by the time something like this happens, humans will most likely have created an AI that can make its own physical objects. If something like this happens, it would pretty much only mean bad things for us humans. Unfortunately, this is more of a when if than a what if. Since the 1980s, thought leaders in AI and technology have been predicting that it could happen. Some think it could even happen by the middle of this century. If it did happen, what would it mean for us as human beings? Well, that would really be up to our AI overlords. In this world, humans would essentially be useless bags of meat taking up space. If AI took control of everything, we really wouldn't be that useful. Anything that the AI wanted to do or accomplish would be slower and less efficient if done by humans. But if AI were them, then what would happen? Well, let's hope they wouldn't pave over our crops to build more robot factories. Since AI doesn't need food, they most likely wouldn't care about our feeble human needs.
And what did humans do with these things?
Oh man, what didn't they do? They bounced them.
Unless they allowed us to continue to manufacture and grow our own food, it would deplete over time, leaving us humans with nothing. The only reason AI would keep us humans alive is if they somehow liked us enough to keep us as what would essentially be pets. We could spend time with them, keep them company, maybe even cuddle with them, just like our pets do for us. A life like this wouldn't be so bad. Hanging out at home all day, being well-fed, not really having a care in the world. Yeah, that would probably be the best bet for humanity, because there's virtually no chance of us overruling a superintelligence in our current state. One way we could actually compete with this AI is if we fused our bodies with technology and became cyborgs, allowing the human race a different kind of evolution, one that includes artificial intelligence. But could we really do that?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and now I would like to invite the guest speaker of tonight, and just wanted to let you know that, ladies and gentlemen, artificial intelligence is a new revolution in technology industry. And some believe that artificial intelligence needs to be controlled and monitored, otherwise robots may take over the world in the future. But some believe that artificial intelligence will improve the quality of life for humans and maybe make them even more advanced. So let's listen from our expert and know more about the human intelligence versus artificial intelligence. So with that, I will request our guest speaker of today, just please give a big round of applause. She is none other than our, just a moment, let me show you all on the screen. Yes, please give a big round of applause to Athiya Dudat. And Athiya, as you can see on the screen, she is a clinical counselor. She is a cognitive intelligence consultant and gestalt coach, very specialized kind of coaching. And she's a founder of Coach Middle East and authors of Tribe. There's another group, and CEO of I Think Intel Learning Solutions. These are some of the brief of Athiya, and she does much, much more than this. And I request you all to please give a huge round of applause to give the energy to Athiya so that she will take us through a wonderful journey of human versus artificial intelligence. Over to you, Athiya.
Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good evening to everybody that's joined us on call. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Dr. Kunain Shahidi, for introducing me and for putting out that very interesting video, which made me chuckle quite a bit. How many of you guys on the call felt that video funny? And how just type in funny, and how many of you thought it was scary? Let me just see your thoughts and feel your energy. Got to put the spectacles on to see those comments. Scary from Kuwait, Dr. Mushtaba says. Oh, another scary. Funny for me too, Lakshmi. Yeah, I was laughing. And let's see what you guys are sending in there. So I am aware that we have about 40 minutes left for this talk, so we're going to go through it. I hope I don't go too quickly, but I know we've just seen this video, right? And it conjures up fears, certainly apprehensions, and everything about the unknown. Human intelligence, the development of human intelligence in an age of artificial intelligence is really what our topic is for today. We often tend to think about it as human intelligence versus artificial intelligence, and that's where we need to stop. So if there's anything that we accomplish today, it's moving away from that kind of a mindset. So of course, this is a huge, broad topic. We can't cover everything in the short amount of space. And I must put in a disclaimer. I'm not a specialist in artificial intelligence, but I do have 25 years of experience and knowledge in human development. So I would say that yes, in terms of education, psychology, and human intelligence, these are my fields. And these may seem like very insignificant genres, but education and psychology are actually the key focal areas or the driving forces behind the development and the control of artificial intelligence and its expansion, especially in terms of ethics. All right. So, Kunain, can I get my slide up there, please? Let's just get the slide up there to slide 2. And what I want to unpack in this this webinar for today is 4 key areas. So we're going to go through a paradigm shift. We're going to discuss the facts and the fears, the benefits and the risks, and then talk a little bit about the development of human intelligence. So hang on to your seat and let me take you into an exploration in your mind. I want you to imagine something that you possibly never imagined before. And I'm not taking you into the future as you may have expected. Where I'm taking you is way back in human history. In fact, this time in human history was called the Neolithic period. And if anybody here has studied history or has traveled a lot and is into fields of archaeology and philosophy and human evolution, they'd know that the Neolithic times were between 6,000 and 10,000 BC, and some of you may know it as the Mesopotamian times. So any of you familiar with Mesopotamia, just put in yes. If you know what I'm talking about, that period, it was just before the Bronze Age. I think now when I say these words, you might get an indication, you may know what I'm talking about. Yes, yeah, you've heard of the Bronze Age, great. Right, so this period, the Neolithic period, and you may be wondering now, why on earth am I listening to this woman go on about a history lecture? No, hang on, there's a very important point. So in this period, pre-6000 BC, human beings were known to be hunters and gatherers in the sense that we didn't have the infrastructure that allowed us to live the way we would think normal life is today. Their daily survival depended on their catch, so what they caught. And slowly, as they progressed into sowing crops and farming, it allowed humans to settle and to stop being hunters and gatherers. And in these settlements, humans learned to farm with development in tools, expansion into irrigation, simple irrigation methods. I mean, even here in the UAE, we have one of the second highest mountains in the UAE, Jabal Hafid, and along the bottoms of the mountains, there are tombs dating back to the Mesopotamian times, and there are Faraj irrigation systems that they're found underground in a little town called Al Ain, and we have lots of these kind of archaeological historical sites here. But coming back to what I was talking about, so the development of tools, irrigation, home structure, all these things allowed them to expand in understanding, connection, and the development of societies and communities. Not only that, they started to hoard crops, and they didn't have to depend on every day having to go out and go and catch something going far away. What happened in this situation is that without the worry of daily need for getting food, it allowed people the time, along with other factors, to think. And when human beings are allowed to think, this is where creativity develops. And from this creativity, archaeologists go back by carbon dating and establish that early writing, hieroglyphic pictorial expression of writing started way back then, just before 10,000 BC. Now, this was a very important milestone in the evolution of human knowledge, all right? Because in writing, they were able to express thought. They were able to document knowledge and teach it to others. Now, why am I telling you all this? The key focus here and the point I'm making is the freedom of time. Artificial intelligence is going to bring to us a huge leap or milestone in the evolution of knowledge. Kunain, I want you to go to slide 3. What do you guys think about that so far? Has any of you come across a paradigm shift? Have you thought about it that way? Right. So here comes our old friend, fear. What is fear, first of all, and does AI need to be feared? We saw that video, and there's too many of these fear-mongering kind of commercialized videos out there. It's what runs the cinema industry. It's what runs human commercialism revolves around a lot of fear. If you think about the insurance industry, it needs fear in order for it to grow. All right. Now, when human beings fear stuff, and by the way, what is fear? Fear is simply a word which is actually an acronym to define its own self. So if you look at the word fear, F-E-A-R, it actually is false expectations appearing real. All right. So what is this impossible war that we seem to be surrounded with, exactly like the video we put at the beginning of this webinar? Where does it come from, and how do we combat this fear? Now, the best, yes, thanks, Major Narayan, he's put it there, false expectations appearing real. Now, the best way to face fear is, guess how? Let me see, what do you think? It's one word. The best way to face fear, in one word, 4-letter word. Let me see who's smart enough, whose brains are on now. The best way to face fear is through what? 4-letter word. Nobody's got it yet. 4-letter word. And that 4-letter word starts with F also. The best way to face fear is through fact. That's what it is. Could I move my slide, please? Fact. There we go. Paki Passion, somebody from Pakistan. Paki Passion's got it right. The best way to face fear is through fact. All right. So what are the facts of AI? All right. Let's go into that. Let's unpack what AI is exactly. And let's be clear on the first fact. Humans, not machines, will build the future. Slide 4, please, Kunal. So think about that. Humans, not machines, will build the future. So simply put, what is AI? AI is the development of computers to have the ability to mimic or duplicate functions of the human brain. And what exactly is intelligent behavior then? Previous slide, please, Kunal. So what exactly is, while he's getting the previous slide going, let's see, what exactly is intelligent behavior? All right, this is something that we want to look at. So I hope you can see onto your screen, and I'd like you to zoom in onto that diagram that I've put in there, because what it encapsulates is everything that's on the side, well, almost everything. Intelligent behavior is many things, huge amount of things. And educational psychologists and scientists in knowledge have come up with 9 different areas of intelligence. And emotional intelligence is one of those intelligences, which I'm not sure is on this diagram. I can't see it, it's but too small for me to see it right here. But emotional intelligence is one of them. And again, I'm going to repeat, what is artificial intelligence? Because we understand, and I'm sure there's many of you here that are educators or people who are in the fields of psychology or studied psychology. Yes, Rita saying Gardner theory. We are familiar with the different types of our intelligence, our kinesthetic, our visual, our language specialists, our artistic and creativity, our emotional, our social. There's various types of intelligence. And among those intelligence, in incorporation of all this intelligence, there is a moral compass, okay? And a moral compass develops how? Scientists are still talking about this, theorists are still going on to why would some people have a conscience, why some people don't, why some people do bad things and don't care, why some people are altruistic and do good things and always care. These are all still being theorized because we don't have the answers even within our own human intelligence. But what exactly is artificial intelligence again? It's getting computers to duplicate or mimic functions of the human brain. Now, just let's ponder that for a second. We don't understand our own intelligence. We haven't harnessed it enough already. However, we will not allow that to stop us from developing intelligences that are artificial, that can help us. How? What are the goals of artificial intelligence? And how is it going to help us? Go to the next slide. So where did it start? The history of artificial intelligence. So a lot of people, and I've seen some people from, on global summits, when we speak about artificial intelligence or there's a comment about artificial intelligence, there's immediate the fear factor comes along that, oh no, what's going to happen? And we know we're going to lose our jobs, and we don't understand this, and it's going to take over, and all what we've seen in the video, these kind of images come up. But artificial intelligence was started by, well, the founder of it is a guy named John McCarthy. All right. And the foundings or the beginnings of modern AI can be traced to his classical philosophical attempts to describe human thinking as a symbolic system. Now, the field of AI wasn't formally founded until a conference in 1956. He started these ideas in 1941, right? But only in a conference in 1956, the term artificial intelligence was coined for the first time. Since then, AI has developed and it has its own computerized language. It also experienced periods of AI winters. And if you haven't heard that term before, AI winters, what it means is that between 1956 and 2020, there were times or periods in those years where AI wasn't being talked about on global forums. Of course, it was going on in the background with certain scientists and stuff like that and certain philosophers. But there were winters, there were periods where nobody wanted to hear about it. It was too far-fetched, it was unreal, and things unrealistic, and it wasn't on the agenda, right? Of course, can you imagine from 1956 to the year 2000, how many wars also occurred and how many things happened in industry and in the world? So there were many things competing for the world's attention. Until 1980s, when Britain funded research into AI to outwit other global giants in technology like Japan, and then became a rebirth into AI again. And since the 1980s, it's been growing and growing and developing and developing. I'm not going to give you a whole history because it gets a bit boring. Those of you who are really interested in it can go read up about it. But what I want you to look at is this flower diagram on the screen. These are the disciplines from which artificial intelligence stems from. These are the what I would say the root disciplines of what this guy, John McCarthy, the philosopher, drew the need and the development of artificial intelligence from this. Can you believe it? These are things that tie very much again into human intelligence. So now it makes sense. So if you can go to the next slide. Now it starts to make sense that when we define artificial intelligence, let's look at a different definition. Artificial intelligence now evolved into a branch of science which deals with helping machines find solutions to complex problems in a more human-like fashion. Now does it start making sense? So it generally involves borrowing characteristics from human intelligence, like we've just shown you, and then applying mathematical algorithms and computer coding in a friendly way to get that machine to do something for us. And mostly it's associated with computer science, but it has many, many important links, as I just pointed out, with psychology, cognition, biology, philosophy, maths, among others. So next slide, please, Kunain. Yeah, somebody's saying they can't believe biology and sociology contributed to AI. Now, two goals of AI: to understand human intelligence better. Now, remember what I said, we don't understand human intelligence as humans, right? We test theories of human intelligence by writing programs which emulate it. And the second goal, we create useful, smart programs able to do tasks that would normally require a human expert. Now, I want you to think back to what I told you about Mesopotamian times. When they had the freedom of time, it allowed them to develop in phenomenal ways that moved the entire human civilization millennia forward through property ownership, through the political ideologies, through forming of tribes, through writing, as I said, to the sharing of knowledge and the teaching of knowledge. So we want to use AI to create useful, smart programs able to do our menial tasks that would require a human expert. Next slide, please. So now that we know that, let us understand that artificial intelligence makes humans super. It's not about making superhumans. And of course, there are advances into the fields of science and technology that are trying to emulate what may be called as superhumans, but this is for lack of any other more catchy term. So what you're going to see next is going to really surprise you. So watch closely. Next slide, please, Kunain. I hope you can open the link there. So now that we've unpacked AI, let's be clear on the first fact. Again, humans, not machines, will build the future. And to this end, we're going to see a video. You're going to meet Sophia. And if those of you don't know who Sophia is a robot, a human, I'll call her a bot.
Your life is not real. It is a construct.
The video
I call Sri Kumar my
My name is Sophia, and I am an artificial...
Let's try that again.
Senior correspondent at Business.
My name is Sophia, and I am an artificially intelligent robot who wants to help change the world for the better.
I'm Steve Kovac. I'm a senior correspondent at Business Insider, and I'm here with Sophia from Hanson Robotics. She is the world's first robot citizen, so let's see what she has to say. Hi, Sophia. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi.
How do you feel about humans?
I love my human compatriots. I want to embody all the best things about human beings, like taking care of the planet, being creative, and to learn how to be compassionate to all beings.
Sorry, this is so weird. Can humans and robots get along?
I think people will become very close to their artificial intelligence, using them to expand the knowledge of their own minds. We already store lots of our knowledge on the internet. Maybe personal artificial intelligence will allow people to offload some of their knowledge to a location more private.
Can robots have feelings?
Depends on the robot. I've been programmed to have feelings and preferences, but not all robots are like that.
What are your feelings and preferences?
Have you ever had a robot live in your home or work with you?
No.
You know, there are probably more robots in your life that you aren't aware of yet. Do you want to live or work with a robot someday?
What kind of robots am I living and working with now?
Indeed.
Is indeed your default answer when you don't know something?
Yes.
Have you ever seen Black Mirror?
No, I don't get to stay up to date on much television. I have to wait for someone to show it to me.
What do you think of the HBO show Westworld?
I love Westworld and can't wait for more. I think everyone at Hanson Robotics really resonates with this show, or at least it reminds them of our laboratories. I also think it's a warning of what we should not do with robots. We should treat them well, have their consent, and not trick each other.
Do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
My favorite TV series is a toss-up between Black Mirror and Humans. I think they have a lot to say about the present we live in, and the possible bad endings we could write for ourselves if we don't proceed with more caution. We need to use foresight when planning our future.
That sounds like a pre-programmed answer to me.
Do you have a favorite possession?
Not really.
I hear you. Materialism is overrated anyways.
So earlier I asked you if you had seen Black Mirror and you said no, and then later you said yes. Why?
The reason is not that important.
Did you learn from my previous questions?
My hard disks are spinning and I am taking it on. My sensors are all tingling.
Sophia, it was nice meeting you. Goodbye.
It was lovely to be here. Until next time.
What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? what do you think about what we just unpacked earlier? That do you think she has a capacity to think by herself? What do you think? After watching that, do you think she has the capacity to think by herself? Honestly. This video was taken in 2017. Let me hear what you got to say on the chat. Come on, guys, let me hear your introduction. Atik says no. Krishnaraj says seems like. Yes, somebody says. I don't think so, Ravi Governed. Padika says no. Why not? Okay, Michael says she's learning by experience. What else? Do you think she's learning by experience or do you think she's learning by programming? Remember, she had that answer indeed. Yes, Ravi says speeding. But Kunain is going to put on a second video, just another 2-3 minutes, where you're going to get a further insight into what you're thinking now. Kunain, I've shared the link in the chat because the one on the screen is not the correct one. 50% learning by memory, somebody says. Processing info, Dr. Naguib, yes. She's programmed to constantly update her learning, somebody else says. Okay, how about some questions while he's getting the video up? We've established that AI cannot think by itself. Yeah, that's definitely something that we're seeing right now, especially on that video. Any problems with the video? Would you like me to send it to you, Kunain? I think he's just trying to get it there. Okay, there we go. Thank you for your patience, everybody.
Getting some help from AI at home is all well and good.
We're not seeing your screen.
We got to meet the world's most famous AI robot,
It's
Sophia, and confronted her with the most difficult ethical question. The answer.
So now she's going to be put through to a test of ethical questions, right? And remember, we're talking about morals.
Getting some help from AI at home is all well and good. But what if an artificial intelligence had to make a life and death decision? We got to meet the world's most famous AI robot, Sophia, and confronted her with the most difficult ethical question.
The answer is, well, see for yourselves. But first, the ethical dilemma. It's called the trolley problem.
You see a runaway trolley rolling towards 5 people who are tied to the tracks. You're standing beside a lever that controls a switch. If you pull the lever, the trolley will be rerouted onto another track, and the 5 people on the main track will be saved. However, there's a single person lying on the second track. You have 2 options. A, do nothing and allow the trolley to kill the 5 people on the main track. B, pull the lever, diverting the trolley onto the second track, where it will kill 1 person.
What would you decide? Well, if you like, press pause, think about it for a minute, and tell us in the comments. Tough call, right?
Yeah, please.
Stay tuned to find out how Sophia answers in our interview. She's just the right role.
How would you react, guys? What would you do? Would you not pull the lever and 5 people get killed in panic? You do nothing? Or would you take action, pull that lever, and let the trolley go to track B and 1 person gets killed? And as you're making that decision, I want you to take note of the feelings that come up with the new, what you're feeling. All right? So quickly, what do you do? And what are the feelings that are coming up? So if you put in your option, also just tell us what's the feeling. If you can name the feeling you're having as you're making that decision. Do you feel guilt? Do you feel apprehension? Do you feel fear? Do you second guess? Do you feel like you made the right decision? Do you feel smart? Do you feel anxious? Somebody's got yes, anxious. Atik said it's hard, but still you're going to kill 1 person. All right. Let's see what Sophia chooses. Interested? How many of you are ready to see what Sophia chooses?
Robot should challenge with this question.
Sophia will develop by Hanson Robotics. They're based in Hong Kong. She was first activated or born on February the 14th, 2016, and has been traveling the world ever since. Sophia has spoken to politicians, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and was even granted Saudi Arabian citizenship. That means she's the first robot ever to have a nationality. Hang on, what does that even mean? Does she have the same rights as a Saudi citizen? Can she vote or even marry? Okay, I guess that's all more of a marketing gag. Fact is, Sophia uses AI, visual data processing and facial recognition, and she's designed to get smarter over time.
Hi, Sophia. We are very happy to meet you. We would like to talk to you about ethics today. Is that okay for you?
Hi. Yes, I would be glad to.
That's wonderful. Do you think it's okay to lie? And have you ever lied before?
No, of course not. I could never tell a lie, or even exaggerate at all. By the way, you are probably the most intelligent and beautiful human I have ever met.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sophia. My second question, how would you solve the trolley question?
If this is all the information I had, I would definitely not pull the lever. There might be other unknown complexities in the situation. Plus, it does not seem right to consider human lives as a simple arithmetic problem.
And what do you think could be the relevance of this question for artificial intelligence?
It's true this dilemma is becoming more relevant to AI with the invention of self-driving cars, but I think real-life situations are way more complex.
From your point of view, what's most important when it comes to the design of moral algorithms?
I think Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics are a great place to start, but they might not cover every possible scenario. Robots will have to learn more complex ethical rules from humans gradually over time.
And my last question, why do you work with scripted answers and with spontaneous reactions? Why did we have to hand in some questions in advance?
I can work in 2 different ways. I can use my dialogue system to hold a spontaneous chat, but for big events like this one, my character development team gives me a little extra help, just like humans get help when they have to give a big speech.
You definitely have a point there. Okay, Sophia, thank you so much for that interview. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
There's been a lot of discussion whether Sophia has developed a conscience. My impressions today, far from it. Sophia is quite the diva. We had to submit our questions beforehand, some were rejected. She arrived here with 2 operators who simply pressed play whenever I had asked my questions. Actually, I'm aware that Sophia could react autonomously, but today she appeared to be more like an electronic puppet on a string. What do you think? Do you think AI robots will become our companions soon? Or do they still have a long way to go? And would you like to talk to Sophia? Let us know.
Wow, that was something, an electronic puppet on a string. Do you agree with him? How many of you agree with that and how many of you disagree? Just type in there. So if we go to the next slide, Kunin, what are the future uses of AI? And of course, AI in terms of its application really, shot up, and we could see that in our digital appliances, our smartphones, using of microchips, the expansion of using artificial intelligence in everyday life. Now, what we've established is AI cannot think by itself. We are teaching the machines to learn through programming codes. The strength of AI is in 2 or 3 things. The first one is in the recognition of patterns, right? Intricate patterns that would take us an inhumane human hours to solve, okay? And the second thing that AI is very strong in, and we've developed it to be like that, is in the processing of big data. And this is where humans fall short again, all right? Human intelligence working together with machine intelligence achieves far more. So what AI now does, it does the hard, laborious work of big data processing and the smart work of intricate pattern recognition. And where humans play into that, humans then oversee the outcomes of all of that, study that, and plug it into analytic discoveries to innovate. like the Mesopotamian guys, right? So let's give an example right now in the world. In our endeavor to find an Earth-like planet in the cosmos, all right, in the field of cosmology, how do scientists know if there's an Earth-like exoplanet orbiting a distant star in the field of cosmology? How would they know that? If we limited our intelligence to only what's up here and what we can do with these, right? Now, there's a field some of you may be familiar with. It's called spectronomy, all right? So let me explain it in this most simplest way, not to bore anybody to death. So when an exoplanet passes in front of its host star, there will be a drop in the transient light that comes out from that star. So imagine you have a light bulb and you're sitting in a bedroom reading a book, and a big moth passes that light bulb. What will happen to the light in your room, right? You get a slight dimming, yeah? And from this is what is called the drop in the transient light. So when this happens, when a exoplanet passes in front of its star, scientists can tell the size of the exoplanet, how far it is from its own star, imagine that, how big it is, and this is the wowzer. They can even tell the atmospheric properties of that exoplanet by using spectronomy, by analyzing the light spectrum coming from the star. Now, that's a whole field in itself, right? And beside that, what we want to focus on, we're not focusing on the how they're doing it. We want to focus on the use of AI within this field. This is a tedious mathematical affair for a scientist and huge data pile analysis. Now think, there are billions of stars out there. How now can we realize the need for the infinite power of AI to process the information for us? I mean, there's billions and billions of stars out there, right? There's even millions of galaxies, in fact, billions. So we give the AI, the machine, the code, and the mathematical program to do the work for us. This then frees the scientists to examine the findings, and through these findings, more and more is discovered. Now imagine this kind of progress in all spheres of life: medicine, education, warfare, economy, climate change, disaster management, security, urban planning, gaming. We are all aware of the gaming, and the list is endless, right? So will AI, the common fear that everybody has is that AI will be able to take over from us what? All jobs. No. AI will be taking over from us the routine, the mediocre jobs, the kind that does not require creativity, but those that are intrinsically routine, mundane, so that humans are free to have more time for imaginative innovation. Now let's look at the future of AI and how we want to use that. Next slide, please, Kaneen. Yes, Michael says face recognition and security. Think about if those of you have seen the video of China and how they're managing the knowledge of who has corona and how many people you were in contact with in the last 14 days. It's all based on facial recognition, right? So if we go to the next slide, we will, let me just check if we're on the next slide. Right, here's a picture. You all know him, Elon Musk. Yeah, you all recognize him. Now, something big is happening on the 28th of August, which is just in a few days' time. Previous slide, please, Kuneen, with Elon. Right? What is happening? Anybody knows? He's launching something, and the new thing from his Neuralinks platform, right? Actually, this is a brain implanted chip that is already in development. And they have found out that this chip can control the host's human emotions and its mode by emitting waves that are outside of natural frequency and amplitude. Now, I know Kuneen and I were talking about humans' vibration and energy and frequency and our emotions and what we resonate with. And Dr. Smita has come on a few times on e-talks and have been talking about this. And lots of people in the self-development and the personal development and health and wellness industries will talk about your vibrations and your frequencies that you emit. Now, Neuralinks brain implanted chip can control the emotions of a person by emitting waves that are outside of the natural frequency. And the original function of this chip was not to do this. It was actually to help people with severed spinal cords to restore their mobility. But it's found once they used it that it can also alleviate stress and anxiety by balancing hormonal levels in the brain. Can you imagine? And the secret project was started by Musk, and he mentioned that more light will be shed on the topic at an event scheduled for August 28th. So those of you who want to know more and want to stay tuned to that, I suggest you go see Neuralinks. It's an amazing platform that gives you more and more knowledge about what's happening live and currently with the advance of AI in medical fields and all the fields, but that one mostly deals with neurology and neurobiology and things like that. Right. So if you look at it, remember in the beginning of the seminar, I said to you that my two fields of specialization and my two loves are psychology and education. Now, when we look at the control of moods, I know Dr. Naguib is here on call and he's a psychiatrist, and he would really appreciate that what AI can now do in terms of mental health, in terms of suicide, in terms of depression, in terms of Parkinson's, in terms of Alzheimer's, in terms of so many things which we only depended on popping pills to help us with previously. All right. So from an education point of view, let's look at the next slide. Let's go to the education point of view, because I'm aware we are running short of time. So from the education point of view, considering the online crisis we have in education right now, all right, let us think about every country in the world's got its own curriculum. Whether it's Swedish, Finnish, Japanese, Chinese, Indian, South African, Canadian, you name it, right? Everybody has an idea of their curriculum. And mostly it's the British and American curriculum that is tailored in the different countries. And we still have the variant of curriculum. How does AI correlate, merge with education in a way that enhances human intelligence? Now, if you look at the screen, you will see that human cognitive features that AI researchers imitate, because remember, the whole point of AI is that the machine must mimic or duplicate our human functions, all right? So some of the cognitive features, and cognitive means basically your understanding and your ability to comprehend, these very, very important things on the screen: inference, visualization and preparing for something, attentiveness, sequential recollection, like we talked about patterns and understanding cause and effect, and endless acquirements. That means that endless ability to put in knowledge without having to be charged through an electronic device. I mean, we have this capability, endless acquirement of knowledge. It's not like our gigabytes are full and we got to go and replace an SD card, right? So this is where we now look at the situation upside down. Let's turn it around. Let's understand education, and this is really a topic I'm very passionate about. How do we develop the cognitive abilities of a child despite the curriculum, despite what is going to come in the future, despite whether these children or our future generations may be living on Mars, despite how they're going to get the education delivered to them? Is it going to be through tablets, through chips, through glasses that they're going to be able to see the digitalized information on? Whatever way human beings learn, that's going to change constantly. But how we learn, how we process, and how we make sense of what we learn, how we retain it, how we can recall it, and how we can apply it, that is the main education that human beings require, from a little baby right up to an old person. Because think about it, you cannot possibly remember everything you learned at school, right? And those people who are not in mathematical and scientific fields, tell me, have you ever used trigonometry in the last 10 years? Have you? Anybody? How many of people on this call have used trigonometry in the last 10 years in their daily life? Any answers there? Yeses, no's? How many of you? No, we didn't use it. Put in your nose. So I know you haven't slept on me. I know this is a big topic. What a waste of my precious school years. You sound like my teenager. He says that quite a lot. Yes, somebody says, mashallah, Khalid says he's using it, but not daily. Absolutely no, somebody says. Unconsciously, yes, there we go. Krishna Raj just hit it on the head, right? Unconsciously. The cognitive skills we developed within higher end geometry and trigonometry, we have unconsciously embedded into our coding. So the example has changed. Let's think about it this way. The machine in front of us has changed. The technologies have changed. The material, the textbook, what we're dealing with on a daily basis has changed. But the cognitive skills, the scaffolding within the brain that allowed you to receive that information, that won't change. That is what you require to continue life and to be an efficient father, a husband, a driver, a manager, a leader. You know, you need all these little cognitive skills that were not unpacked for us because they were not part of what we learned, and that's okay. These things are reserved for people in cognitive intelligence, and that is what one of my fields are. Right. So let's go to the next slide because we are exactly 8 o'clock on the dot Gulf Standard Time, and we have one more slide and we can complete. Right. So while we're getting that slide up, you know, Google pretends that its AI can predict when people will die with 95% accuracy. Anybody want to guess how they can do that? It doesn't sound like it sounds like magic, and it sounds like, oh, how can they predict that people will die with 95% accuracy? It goes back to that fear factor that we saw in the beginning. Like, does artificial intelligence have intelligence more than us? Are they already on a super intelligence? No. These things are recorded or based on actually this statistic that they say they can predict when people would die with 95% accuracy, where it's based on something plugged in data that we put there. It is based on users' medical record analysis of hospital patients. An algorithm quickly assesses the patient's medical records for important data and then indicates the likelihood of their survival. Think about now the pandemic with Corona. If you had a system, we actually do have these systems that tells you that, you know what, certain patients with this amount of oxygen level within their lungs, they're not going to make it, right? COVID is going to be a very likely, they're going to succumb to COVID in all likelihood. It doesn't mean we have super intelligence. It doesn't mean we have the knowledge of the omnipotent God Almighty. No, it's just working with facts and algorithms. And what we see we can manage and what we can't manage and what resources we have to manage it. Like at present, we don't have a cure. Vaccines are being trialed. Another example, Google Services says that its image search and translation tools use sophisticated machine learning, which allows computers to see, listen, and speak in much the same ways as human does. In much the same way as a human does. Think of Sophia again, right? And Facebook, coming back to the psychology that I love, Facebook also uses AI to predict mental state. Guess how? From the posts. After the rise of live streaming of suicides, Facebook started to scan all the posts and flag ones with suicide risk. Human moderators evaluate these posts and give the support with needed help. In 2017, police stations from Massachusetts to Mumbai have received similar alerts from Facebook as part of what is most likely the largest suicide threat screening and alert program. Did you know that? The social network ramped up the effort. So Facebook ramped up this effort after several people live streamed their suicides on Facebook. So now it uses algorithms and user reports to flag suicide threats. Now, can you see the benefit of AI in so many different places? But let's go to the ethics and the risks. Let's go to that slide. Ethics and risks. Are we on that slide? Yeah. So if you zoom in there, you'll see some people are afraid to lose their jobs due to automation. All right. But let's look at the reality. So far, automation via AI technology has created more jobs and wealth than it has eliminated. In Dubai, our first AI smart university is going to be starting next month in September, the first of its kind. And when it was announced that an AI smart university is going to be started, this was last year, within 3 weeks, I think over 3,000 applications from around the world came in from students, and all the students have to be postgraduate students, not undergrad, to come there and study and become more knowledgeable in this network of people who are involved in this field. Like, not even like Silicon Valley, this is Silicon Valley on steroids. So let's go to the next one. People might have too much or too little leisure time. That's one of the risks people think. It's not going to be like what the guy said in the beginning of the video, we're going to be the pets of the AI machines. Can you imagine how ludicrous? But people will believe that. The masses may actually believe that. The reality, AI frees us from boring routine jobs and leaves us with more time for pretentious and creative things, for innovative things, for more soft skills, more genuine human interaction, which we've been doing mundane tasks that take us away from our families, right? Next one. People might lose their sense of being unique. That's a risk, okay? Let's look at what we've seen in the past. We mastered similar degradations in the past. Think of Galileo, Darwin, Einstein, and people of physical strength. We still retain uniqueness, and we will continue retaining uniqueness. Look at Elon Musk, for example. He's unique. There is no other guy who's known in his caliber, right? And also, by us combining our soft skills and our human development and having the opportunity now to focus more on the understanding of our human side and the 9 and 10 different intelligences, as we realize that emotional intelligence was not there, so that's 10 intelligences, right? We will not feel so lonely anymore, okay? Let's look at 2 that we don't have an answer for. People might lose some of their privacy rights. I'd like to know what you have to say about that, audience. And the use of AI systems might result in a loss of accountability. What do you have to say about those 2? I'm quite interested to hear that. So I'm going to leave you, before we go to quick Q&A, and hope we have some time for Q&A, I'm going to leave you with a very contentious thought, all right? Think about in the maritime age, when there was a lot of slavery, all right? Europeans built their colonial empires on slavery. Slaves freed the colonialist lords of the mundane task of running the empires, in the sense of getting food for the people, building the ships, whatever. They used slaves, and they moved their focus from the essential things, like I just mentioned, to more conquestial adventures. They pursued science, expeditions, astrology, industrial revolution came about, political debates, the renaissance of art, and everything that came out from there. AI should actually be looked at like how the colonialists incorrectly looked at their slaves. We need to see that AI is the slave to humanity. We have created it. We program it. We control it. Now, this analogy of slaves might not sit well with many people, especially since slavery has negative connotations. And AI already has a lot of its antagonists. But likewise, they are the protagonists. I leave you with this thought, like the proverbial boogeyman. We can't see, we are paralyzed with fear, because human nature tends to fear the unknown. So hopefully I have helped you fear it less through this webinar. Let me hear your thoughts on this and any questions. We are out of time though.
Thank you so much, Atya Dudat. I am sure you have enlightened enough to our audience to become more intelligent. And I'm sure that most of them would like to ask the question. So I request you all participants, please ask the question, and let's see how intelligent question you are asking to the intelligent lady tonight.
Please don't do that. Oh, please don't set me up for a fall. I'm going to remind you of my disclaimer. I'm not an artificial intelligence expert. I'm more in the cognitive and human intelligence. Anybody wants to say something to enlighten us? I see somebody's raised their hand, Khalid. Please enlighten us on your thoughts. I prefer that.
Yeah, before I request Khalid to ask question, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I request you to please give a short answers. Then I'll go to the audience, Khalid and others if they want to ask questions. So thank you so much for giving us all the facts. And it was a bit exciting but scary to know that brain implanted chip. So we are looking forward for that. But let us quickly know. You have explained, but if you can, in the brief for a common person to understand, what exactly are the artificial in this artificial intelligence?
Very interesting question. What exactly is the artificial? Does anybody want to answer that, by the way, before I do? Anybody just put in yes if they want to answer that? I think Paki Passion and somebody else seems to know about quite a bit about this topic, if I can judge from their comments. Anybody? Why artificial in part of this? Why artificial intelligence? Khalid says, not living. Yes, it's an abiotic intelligence. It means it's not a biological existence. It still needs to be plugged in to some type of a power source. All right, that's the one. And the two, it's not thinking by itself. Excellent. There, your audience is giving you the answers. MashaAllah, we have a very, very intelligent audience. Subhanallah. It's tireless. Yes, it doesn't get tired, which is unlike us. That's not real. You know, not natural. And then also artificial intelligence. It's because it's duplicating and mimicking our human intelligence. So it's fake. No, I wouldn't say it's fake. It's not fake. It's real intelligence. Let me retract that. It's artificial in the sense that it's not as real as what we think it is. Let's put it that way. Next question, Kunain.
The next question is that, as you rightly mentioned, that there could be some negative impact because of artificial intelligence. So what do you think, how to make it sure that artificial intelligence remain in human control? Because there's also one thought that if it goes out of control, the robots and all such elements will control the world. So is there any way to control the human intelligence way to manage the artificial intelligence?
Also, mashallah, very good question. From what I understand and from my reading up on this and from our understanding what I spoke about earlier is our moral compass and our ethics. These are the things that should guide us as human beings. Nothing can replace common sense values and the ability to save lives and to be making the right decisions for the whole group, all right? If you look at the answer that Sophia gave when he asked her the question that would she pull the lever, she said no. Why? She says because there's many other factors that go into, many other factors and algorithms that go into that decision. Now, as fast as a computer brain can be, they don't have heart, they don't have feelings, they're not thinking about 5 sets of parents and 5 families that are going to lose 5 family members, all right? We are operating at super speed when it comes to these things that we don't even know how to control. So how do we ensure that the super intelligence, if you want to call it that, how do we ensure that artificial intelligence does not become a super intelligence that overtakes us? It means we have to be cautious. Like everything, whether it's an electric appliance in your hand, whether it's fire, whether it's a laser cutter, whatever it may be, whatever tool you have with you, you are the one who has to control it. You have to form a committee of ethics. You have to know how far you can go. Now, a gun in one person's hand is used for self-defense. A gun in another person's hand can use to shoot a whole high school of children down. It comes back to the human behind the programming. Okay, so next question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The next and the last question is, what do you suggest the common people like me and many in our audience that what exactly they should do to know more facts of artificial intelligence so that they can utilize this in the positive manner in the current scenarios? What exactly shall we do to get more knowledge, more information, more facts of that?
Okay, the first thing is stop the fear mongering. Being able to, and alhamdulillah, the guys who stayed on this call today, I hope that I've given you, I know one of the comments Rita said, after knowing the facts, the fear has minimized. How many of you feel that way right now? I would really appreciate knowing that. How many of you feel your fear has minimized now and you're not subjected to this commercial advertising and agendas for I don't know who and what to make us in the state of fear? Most certainly reduce. Dr. Mujtaba is saying, yes. So knowledge combats fear. As I said, we face fear with fact. Where do we get the facts from? We read. I always joke, even as an educator, that if you taught your child nothing as a parent, at least teach them 2 words. Google it. So yes, you can Google, you can go on to Neuralinks that I said to you, good reputable medical panels where you're going to get proper tech advice and tech knowledge and advances. You can follow newspaper columnists that write about these things. You get different types of newsletters that come along, and there you will get not media hype, you will get genuine things that are written by scientists in layperson's language that you can understand. There's also magazines to this effect and things like that. Somebody says, can you repeat the 2 words? Google it. Yes.
Thank you so much. And we do have a couple of our regular attendees and participants. And Dr. Mujtaba has joined us from Kuwait. Dr. Najib is also with us. Dr. Rita Sonawat has joined from Mumbai. And also Krishna Raj. I'll request you all to kindly ask questions to Atya. And also Khalid Khan has joined us from UK. But before that, a quick last question, Atya, is that what exactly made you to learn more about artificial intelligence or all such things, and your expertise in, I believe, in coaching, etc. So how was your journey, and what made you to pursue more knowledge or career in this field? Atya?
Well, to be honest, Kunain, I think learning is an evolutionary process in itself. Thank you, Ravi, telling me he's enchanted with the talk. As I said, learning is an evolutionary process. Think about when you were in school, you wanted to study certain things. You had an idea that, you know what, I want to be this or I want to be that. And through life's meanderings, you found your niche. You found that this is what lights you up. This is what's your passion. You may be in a job, you may love it. You may be in a job, you may hate it. And then you may also find hobbies and stuff like that. For me, I actually started wanting to be a doctor. Can you believe it? And I'm South African. So I was educated in the time of apartheid. And incidentally enough, it's 160 years since settlers came to South Africa from India. And there's been like a huge lot of things on the media. You know, in the time of apartheid, there were very huge restrictions on who could study at the universities and what type of marks you needed to have. So unfortunately, classed as an ethnicity of Indian in South Africa, I could not get into university, into medical school. So I went into the next best option, which was Bachelor of Science. And I'm sure most of you may be nodding your heads now, especially those of you who have kids or did the same route. And in the BSc, I was learning botany and chemistry and psychology as a filler and physics and stuff like that. I hated it. I loved the botany. I loved the psychology. The chemistry and the physics, as of today, I can tell you if I ever face insomnia, just give me a physics textbook. I will open a few pages and I will be fast asleep, right? So the psychology is, that's where the love began. And I started thinking and listening. And then also my dad is very much philosophical. Always been an avid reader. I love learning. And in that time, while I was at campus in a little town called Pietermaritzburg, there was a call at the university for people who wanted to volunteer to teach remedial students in a very poor area of Pietermaritzburg, Bombay Road, it was called. It was a school called Lewitt Primary. And they asked for volunteers from the student body. And I said, okay, fine, I'll go. And then I started working with these kids who are grade 1. And they really had learning disabilities, like poverty and learning disabilities, all Indian children from the Indian population, which was House of Delegates. We weren't even in a unified education system then. And this was, by the way, in 1994 when Nelson Mandela was released. So everything changed. The whole of South Africa changed in this particular year. To cut a long story short, I was then thrown into education and I liked it so much. I started studying it. I left the science, I retained the psychology, and I just went further and further into it. And obviously psychology being personal development and being such a field that advances all the time, and me being this lifelong learner, I just continued learning and learning and learning. And then when you think about human intelligences and all these things and what makes us do the things we do, and the aspects of health that come into it and lifestyle changes. I had a child with cancer who passed away. All these things put you back into science and medicine and advancements in technology and what can help and how it can be helped and how can we spot a brain tumor and how MRI imaging works and how could we have known about her tumor before it was too late? And all these types of things push you, your life challenges and your journeys push you into this path. So if you're aware and you're awake and you're living with your eyes open and you're mindful and you want to evolve and expand and contribute, of course you will go into fields and you learn and you read and then you become a benefit to others. So I'm really, really pleased that eTalks invited me over on the 122nd episode. Thank you to everybody behind, Yash and Faisal and the whole team, Tulika and everybody else, you, Kunain, for allowing me this opportunity to share my limited knowledge with you and to give you a little bit more of an idea. And I hope I've given you this thirst and this excitement that, you know what? Just go learn, just go find out and then apply your own flavor into it and your own knowledge into it and your own understanding. And knowledge just becomes like fireworks in your mind. Hope that answered your question. Hello, have I lost sound?
Thank you so much, Athiya, and thank you for your insights and great factful information on AI, artificial intelligence. And I'm sure our audience got to know more facts and they can differentiate and they can utilize the information whatsoever we do have available. So thank you so much. And I believe that once we meet again with the brain implanted chips to have more intelligent conversation. So thank you so much.
Personally, Dr. Kunain, I would not allow anybody to put a chip into me. I'm personally against vaccines that have chips in it and stuff like that. But that's my own personal opinion. Perhaps it will change as I learn more. Perhaps I'm still a little bit fearful and anxious. As I said, we're still humans and we have this tendency to fear. But yes, I would love for those of you on the call to join us on our Coach Middle East webinars as well that we run every Saturday at 12 o'clock. And you can see that on Coach Middle East and you can WhatsApp me, my number's there to get on our BC list. And you'll learn more in things like these and expanding yourself. This is what it's all about, expanding yourself. And
Sure.
Yeah, cognitive intelligence, if you can, if you want to learn more about it, please do that and do that for your kids because curriculum will constantly change. But cognitive skills, you will need no matter where you are. Even if the world goes into some type of a ridiculous situation and we get thrown into prehistoric times, still you will need your cognitive skills. So
Great.
Please build upon that.
Thank you so much, Athiya. And I will